Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Ratliff Mandolins Weekly Production Diary. My name is Audie Ratliff and I'm going to share with you how the workflow is going to go around the shop this week. As many of you know, we're working on a batch of mandolins, 10 at a time, and have them pretty much all looking like mandolins, but there's a few things left to glue on and take care of before they can be completely assembled, and that is the fretboard extender and the fretboard and the peg head overlay. After we get those three things taken care of, all these mandolins will pretty much be done and ready for their finish prep. So that's where I'm at in this batch right now, and so that's going to be the main flow of the effort spent at work this week, and probably next week as well. We'll be getting the fretboard extenders, fretboards, and the peg head overlays on these mandolins. Now, to do that, this one has the fretboard extender glued on, but before we can actually glue it on, we have to clean up all of this top, because once this fretboard extender is glued on, can't get under there to sand it, clean it, or anything. So everything has to be taken care of here, final sanded all the way down to the grit of paper used just before you shoot finish on it. The fretboard extender has to be fit and cleaned up on the bottom part of itself as well, shaped and everything, so the fretboard will lay on there. Everything will fit the way we want it, and then the fretboard will be glued on, and you saw that process last week with this mandolin right here. This is mandolin number 1 in the batch. And I'll take it out and show it to you. Now mandolin number 1 has got the fretboard extender. It's been glued on, and now the fretboard is glued on, and the only thing left to make this a complete mandolin is the peg head overlay. So that's going to, like I said, that's going to be the thrust of the work for probably the next couple of weeks, is just cleaning these mandolins up, putting the fretboard extender on, making sure everything's going to fit the way we want it to, glue that fretboard extender on, glue the fretboard on, take it out, glue the peg head overlay, and then they're going to go hang in the front room to await finish prep. Final stuff before we start putting the stain and the clear coat on top of these things. This one is ready, and I'm going to do this right now, which is put the peg head overlay on, and then this one will be the first one to hang in the front room. So let's do that right now. Okay, I've got them in this sort of this press thing to keep them flat. So we're just going to pick through them and see if we can't pick a pretty one and put it on mandolin number 1. I have chosen a piece of walnut because some other customers, not this one, but some other customers in this batch have asked for a walnut overlay, and then I have to make the color of the walnut kind of match the color of the sunburst. So I've decided to do this one with walnut sort of as a test to see if I can make it look good against a normal sunburst. Something I've not done before or even tried. So now we're going to cut this shape out of this walnut piece and glue it on. So that's pretty much how it's going to go for the rest of the week. I'll be taking a mandolin out of the box, cleaning up the top, fitting the fretboard extender on, getting it ready, getting it glued on, and then the truss rods will go in, and then the fretboards will go on in that order, and then we'll bring them over here and put the peghead overlays on, and then I will take them to the front room where I get them ready to shoot finish on them and do any kind of final work on them, like inlay or binding around the peg head and that sort of thing. All that gets taken care of in the front room, which is basically a finished prep room. So I'm just going to carry the camera with me and take some footage of me doing those jobs, and I'll show that to you right now.
Okay, I'm going to cut in here and say that I had a fellow call me this week, and we were talking about instruments, and this mandola came up in the conversation. I have this mandola that I built, I don't know, a few years ago. I built a couple of them and sold one of them, and one of them just kind of went on the shelf back there. And this is it, and I've got it, and I'd like to sell it. And we were talking about this instrument, and he said he'd like to hear it and sort of a comparison between a mandola and a mandolin. And so I said, well, within my limited abilities of playing an upside down mandola, I'll play it and sing a song, so you can hear the relative differences between the two, especially as just a backup for singing. So here we go, a comparison between mandolins and mandolas. I was standing by my window on a cold and cloudy day when I saw that hearse come rolling for to carry my mother away. In the same key. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. And just to hear the mandola being played. A mandola for sale. Okay, it's Friday evening, so let me bring this video to a close. I'll give you a final score sheet for the week. Number one, mandolin number one and mandolin number two are hanging in the front room. The only thing they have left to do on them besides final finish prep would be frets and any kind of peghead treatment that needs to be done, like binding or inlay. Number three has the overlay glued on, but it's not trimmed up and it's not made into the front room, but it's almost there. Number four has the fretboard extender glued on, so it's ready pretty much for the truss rod and the fretboard to be glued on next week. I also kind of cleaned up all of the heel buttons. Most of the heel buttons were still oversized and not really shaped. Not that they're really clean, but at least now they're the proper size and they're ready for their final sandings. I worked on mandolin number five a little bit and got the fretboard extender made but not glued on, and some of the remainder tops 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 I also got 220 grit papered and wet so that the grain could raise and we could glue the fretboard extender down like I explained earlier without too much trouble in the future. So that's kind of where we're at on Friday evening. Check back with us next week for the next episode of the Ratliff Mandolins Weekly Production Diary. And I certainly hope to see you then. Hit the like and subscribe button. Your comments are always appreciated. I thank you for those. And we'll look for you next week on the next episode. I'm Audie Ratliff, and I'm saying you have a good week, and we'll see you next time.